Guys, it took me longer than I'd hoped to get this recording done. I apologize for the wait, sorry about that, but here it is. I'm going to go pretty quick because I know you guys can just pause the video and look through my settings, so I'm going to rush through it really quick just to give you an overview, and I'll let you figure out the details at your own pace. You can, of course, since it's on YouTube, play back the video at half speed or something and listen to me talk really slow, or speed it up even faster. It's up to you. Okay, so I've got the assignment open here. So we're going to start an InDesign. I've got InDesign open in the background. Let's switch over. And first step is to create a new document. We're going to create a document that's for print. So I'll choose the print preset group up here. I'm going to choose letter half because I have a preset for it. If you don't, you can just put in the values here. Make sure it's on landscape orientation. So I'll click on that little icon there. And if you don't know what picas and points are, that's okay. Switch to inches. And we see that it's 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 tall, which is exactly what I want. Next thing I need to be sure is that I have bleed set up properly. Bleed is going to be 0.0625. That's 1/16 of an inch. We just hit tab and it fills all those fields. Hit create. Alright, so now let me zoom out and show you. There's my document. Part of it anyways. So this is what my sheet is going to print. I'm going to print this sheet out, but I'm going to have two pages divided up. So just so that I know what I'm working with design-wise, I'm going to drag a guide out onto the page. I'm going to put it right smack in the middle, which half of 8.5 is 4.25. There we go. Math. So there's my two pages. I'm going to do this front and back as well, so that means I need to design with another page in mind. And so I'm going to click the new page icon over here in the pages panel. Let's hide that and then drag my guide out there and put it right in the middle again. If I can't quite get that on 4.25 with the mouse, I can still, before I click anywhere else, just type in the value in this field up top, and you'll be able to get the guide right where you want it. Okay, so now zooming out, let's look at this. These pages, now think back to the little video I sent out a couple days ago showing an animation of the pages being turned. Keep in mind that if we're going to print one side of the page and another side of the page, some of our pages may not go in the order that we think. So I want you guys to grab a piece of paper, cut it in half or just fold it or whatever, but you need to figure out which part of your design is going to be the cover on the front, cover on the back, which side's going to be page 2 and page 3, and design accordingly. Don't watch what I do in this video. I'm intentionally going to do it wrong because I want you guys to figure out the order of the pages based on how it's going to fold. Alright, so let's jump back to the assignment and see what the next steps are. Okay, so we did our guide. We need to add some swatches from the ASU color palette at this website. So let's open that up, see what it does. Oops, I should open it in a new tab, but I didn't. Okay, so if you are logged into My ASU already, you're signed into your ASU account, it should take you in here. If you're not, it's going to say access denied for a second, and then it's going to show a little thing where you choose if you're an ASU affiliate. You guys are all ASU affiliates, so just click on that link and it should let you in. But it'll take you to the home page, so when you're there, it might look like this. If it loads, eventually, you can skip this part of the video. I'm going to pause it and come back. Okay, so this is what the home page will look like if you don't go straight to the color palette, but I'll look for this link here, color palette, and this will take you right where you need to go. So read through it, don't just skip ahead to the next section that I'm going to, but be aware of how ASU colors work. And then what you're going to do is come down and look at the CMYK values for the ASU maroon and gold, and then for some of these secondary colors. And we're going to build swatches of those. Now I'm just going to do this green here because it's an easy number to remember for me. So ASU green is 60, 0, 100, 0. So I'll come back over to InDesign now, and in my swatches panel, in my color picker, I'm going to pick that color. So we go 60, 0, 100, 0. And that's that ASU green. And I'll click this button, Add CMYK Swatch. And OK. Now I have this value here. Just double click on the name. And I want to change this to give it a name. Drag this over, cancel. Sorry. we want to rename it. So you can't click too fast or it'll open up that panel that I just showed you, but click once and then click again, and we'll name this ASU green, and we're good to go. So we have one swatch. Now you're going to go through and do this multiple times, but I'm just going to do it once and let you guys figure it out from there. Alright, so on the assignment page that I closed, hang on, I'm having internet problems tonight. Not my internet, it's me, but there we go. Alright, so I'm using the rectangle tool. Place the square on one of the pages for the gold and maroon plus 3 more brand colors of your choice. The example that I sent out hopefully makes that clear how that looks, but basically you're just putting little swatch tiles on the edges of one of the page so that it bleeds off the side of the page, and you're going to label that with the color values, the Pantone number, the spot color number, as well as the CMYK values. How you arrange that is up to you, but just do something like this and you'll be fine. We're going to make a box over here, and let me zoom in the corner of that page. There's my box, and we're just going to make a square over here that fills the edge of the page, and I don't need to have any stroke on there, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so now I have full bleed, almost, there we go. Now I've got full bleed. See, the green is beyond the edge of my sheet. This red line up there is the bleed line. This is where it's going to get trimmed. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor there, but the paper ends right here, so it'll print on the press sheet, which is bigger, all the way out to wherever out here. So there's going to be this little border of green that's available to get trimmed off. Now I would use the text tool and add the CMYK values and the Pantone number here too, but I'm going to keep going so this video isn't too terribly long for you. Alright, so repeat that process several times until you get all the colors that you need to. Alright, and then let's go to Photoshop. So the next step is in Photoshop, we're going to put some images and work on them and save them as CMYKs. We're going to prep them for print by converting to CMYK and making sure that they're a print-ready resolution. So I've already downloaded those, so we don't have to wait, but I went online and just found a couple of ASU-themed images that were high resolution. So over in Photoshop now, I'm going to open these up. So we'll go Open, and I have a folder here somewhere. And there's this image. Let's open that one up. And what I want to do is make it so that in my design, I want it to fit on one of these pages. So I'm going to fill this entire page up with that picture, because the assignment says it needs to have full bleed. So this guy needs to be at least 4.25 inches wide and at least 5.5 inches tall. So this one, I'm going to crop it to get to that point first, and I'll show you a different way to do this on the second one. So with the crop tool, I can set my width by height by resolution, and that makes this really easy. I just go 4.25 IN for inches by 5.5 at 300 pixels per inch, and I hit enter, or I hit the check mark. There we go. So I've got that one done. I just need to make sure and convert it. I go edit, convert to profile, and it's already on the default, but if you're not here on the default profile for print, then we're going to change it to swap version 2. Hit OK. Then file, save as, and make sure that I save it as a PSD, not a JPEG. And obviously we're going to give it a good name, so we'll just call this Sparky 1 and save it. Okay, now I'm going to go back to InDesign and then we'll come back to Photoshop later. I just want to show you how to place this one. Go File, Place, keyboard shortcut is Control or Command D, and then we go back and find our Sparky picture. Make sure that you get the PSD file, which is this one right here. Hit open. And now my cursor is just holding, it's loaded with this image. And I can just click on the page and it's going to drop it out there. But if I click in the right spot, if I click right there, then it's going to fill the area of the page exactly. Now, if we look in close at the corner here, you'll see that I don't have full bleed on this image. It's close enough. I'm not going to ding you guys if you're just a little bit off in the resolution. You do need to make sure that the frame does reach the edge of bleed, and that you complete the next step, which is going to fit it into that. So watch close. I'll right click here, choose fitting, fill frame proportionally, and that's going to scale the image up just a little bit, not too much. If I go into my links panel over here on Sparky, I can show more information down here in the advanced part. Excuse me. And it shows that the actual PPI of the file is 300. I'm stretching it just a little bit so that I have bleed. So we're at 293, but that's okay for now. Alright, so I've got one image with full bleed. You would just go back and redo the exact same steps with the other image and make it fit. Now, I'm hurrying. Do a better crop. Don't chop off Sparky's poor finger. He needs that finger for pointing at people in the crowd, obviously. So let's go back to Photoshop and grab our other image. So this one. Alright, so this one, rather than cropping it to fit those sizes, I'm going to do this a different way. Go to Image. And you guys did this on your resolution assignment already, so I'm comfortable that you know how to do this, but we're just going to hit resample. I'm sorry, not resample. We're going to resize the width, the height, because it's too wide, obviously. It's a little square in this case. I need to be at least 5.5 inches tall. And that gives me plenty of resolution, 361. Hit OK. We got more than enough there. And I'm not going to crop this one in this case, but I am going to go Edit, Convert to Profile, and just make sure that it's CMYK. Save this as a PSD again. And name it better than I just did, but we can close Photoshop up now. I'm done with Photoshop. So let's do the same thing. File, Place, and grab this other PSD. Let me zoom out so you can see what happens. So I want to put it on this page right here. I'm just going to click and drag. And notice that it's obviously not quite the right size for this page. So one thing to be aware of is that the frame and the graphic inside the frame are two different things. So this graphics frame, this box that it resides in, is not the image itself. I can resize this frame to fit my bleed marks or whatever, and then I can double click on it, and then I'm accessing the picture within that, so I can move around the picture within that frame however I want, or I can resize it or whatever. So I'm just going to arrange this so that I have the composition that fits best on this page. Let's say that's good right there. Let me just double check in my links panel. This image and my effective PPI is 354, plenty of resolution there. Might even scale it down if you really want to, but we'll call it good. Okay, so from this point on, we're going to jump over to Illustrator. And in Illustrator, we're going to download a logo. This is on the same page on ASU's site here with the brand standards. We can come in and we can download a logo from this page. So let's go to ASU logo. My internet's running really slow here. And I'm going to find an EPS that's a CMYK. And this, I'm just taking the first one on the list here, but you guys can do whatever. Alright, I'm in my same week 5 project folder. Hit save, and there's my EPS. I'll just open this with Illustrator. Alright, now this is going to be a little tricky. What you should probably do, rather than what I just did, is create your file first. So let me go back and do that now. So let's go to New and Print. We can do letter, but we want it to be a half letter, so we'll just start with that and then we'll modify it. It needs to be, in this case, 4.25 because we're only going on one side of the page, right? By 5.5 tall. And create. Alright, so now let me just grab this and put it where it belongs in this document. Okay. So I'm not going to do much else besides this right here. In your assignment, it says to actually make some kind of design in Illustrator. So read through these steps, create some interesting pattern design or elements or text or title or headline or subtitle or whatever you guys want, depending on how you decide to lay this stuff out and create things. But in the interest of not making this a 30-minute video, I'm just going to stop here and let you guys play with it on your own from now. So all I'm going to do in Illustrator at this point is just save this thing as an Illustrator document. Just need to make sure it goes to the right place. And give it a good name. I'm going to name it something logical like that. Okay. So now back here, Control D to place, choose my Illustrator file, and I'm going to put it on this page right here. Now remember what I said before, don't make your documents the same way that I do in the page order. You need to figure out which page is going to fold where. Now this is a vector image, so it should scale up without pixelation, but there's a ton of pixelation there, right? It looks really bad, doesn't it? And some of the images, this is a really high resolution photo over here, and it looks bad, and so is this one. If we zoom in, it looks really pixelated. The reason for that is just that InDesign is going to load all the images in with lower than actual resolution. It's going to display them with lower display quality to save on RAM. Some of the documents that you might create in InDesign are going to be enormous, and it's going to suck up all your computer's RAM, and things are going to slow down and crash. So in order to save on system resources like that, InDesign is going to lower the display quality of the images by default. The standard, if we go to View and Display Performance, by default it's going to say typical display. If we change it to fast, then that's a fast display. It's not really going to load anything, and InDesign is going to be really snappy. We can also change this to high quality, and everything's going to be nice and sharp and crisp. But depending on your system's resources, that may be a good thing, it might not. Now this is obviously not scaled right, so I need to resize it. So I'll right click, go fitting, fill frame proportionally. Oops, not that one, sorry. In this case, I need to fit the content to the frame, but I need to do it proportionally. Alright, fit content proportionally. And I don't like how that fits. By default, it's just plugging it in there. Remember, the frame and the content in the frame are two different things. So I can grab the content here, and if I shift while I drag, that's going to keep it proportional. If I hold Alt while I do that, it's going to keep it proportional, and it's going to center it. So let's just leave it right there. Now your design, this will have a lot more on it. I didn't want to get into that, but just make sure that yours looks nice here. And in this case, bleed doesn't matter because it's white paper in my particular design, so there doesn't have to be anything extending out there. Alright, so wrapping things up, make sure that you have all your swatches, labels, names. Every page should have a page number on it. The pages need to go in the right order, considering something in here is going to be a front cover and something's going to be a back cover. How you do that is up to you, but it should be obvious that you got the page numbers right, because there will be numbers on the page. Alright, next thing that we're going to do when we're happy with our design and everything's done is we need to save this out and export it. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go straight to Package. Package is going to grab all the assets in my links panel. It's going to grab any fonts that I've used. I didn't use any fonts in this particular one, but if you did, it would do this. So I'll hit Package. Yes, I want to save it first. I'm going to choose where I want this to go and give it a good name. Something with your last name in it and the class and the project, so something like that. Hit save. This little dialog will pop up. Fill in this instruction sheet. You don't have to put in your real address or anything. I don't care. Just I want this stuff to be filled in with something, just gibberish if you want. Alright, so we're going to say where we wanted to save. Yes, yes, yes. All these check marks are good. Hit Package. and it doesn't look like anything happened, but it did. If we go over to our folder, now there's this new folder inside of my project file that didn't exist before. If I open that up, we have links, and that's going to have all the content that I put inside. If I had fonts, there would be a fonts folder here too. There's my InDesign file right here, and this IDML file, InDesign markup file. That's just for backwards compatibility. If someone's using the same, different older version of InDesign, they can still open it with that. There's a PDF that gets generated. I didn't check before I did that to see what the settings were, and you guys probably won't either, and that's cool because the exact next step of the assignment has you take care of that. So from here, we're going to go File, Export. Make sure we choose the same location. In this case, I'm going to overwrite that automatically generated PDF. So I'll just click on that to choose the same name. Save. And Windows says, do you want to overwrite it? Yes. And this part, this is the important part. Remember this. Now, I'm going to change it after the video. If you've already done this, I'm not going to penalize you for it. It's not your fault, but I did make a mistake writing this assignment. So I'll point that out to you as I go here, but make sure you're on PDF X1A. And just skip everything else, go straight to marks and bleeds. This is the big one right here. Always make sure that you check this box to use document bleed settings. We set the document bleed. This is going to include that metadata in the file so that whatever software it goes to next to be ripped or whatever is going to understand that we have bleed in this document. In the assignment, it says to also check bleed marks. What that does is it puts the actual marks where bleed is on your page. That's incorrect. So again, just so that you know, I'm not going to mark you wrong if you do this, but just so that you're aware and do it properly, you want to check crop marks. That's going to give you the marks where the page will actually trim, and that's actually useful. The bleed marks, okay, that just shows you that there's bleed, but it doesn't tell you where to trim. So if you want to try it both ways and see the example, I'm going to check both right now just to show you the difference between crop marks and bleed marks, but you guys don't need to do that. Alright, hit export. Jump back over to the folder, and here's my newly written copy. Open that up, and you can see up at the top corner up here that I have two sets of marks. These further out marks, those are bleed marks. That's saying where the bleed ends, which is really for our purposes not useful for much of anything. These marks in here, that's where the page is actually going to get trimmed. So the cutter is going to chop off a little bit of ink on each of the edges there, which is going to result in looking like the page was printed edge to edge when it finally goes to the client. So that's about it. You do those steps and you'll be all good. Just make sure that when you get ready to turn in your file, you need to come back to where this package folder is. This package folder will have your links, your fonts, an IDML file, and an INDD file. It's going to have a PDF, the new PDF X1A that you exported and overwrote the other with. And it's going to have an instructions.txt file that's been filled out with your information. So back up here, and you're going to zip this folder. On a PC, you can go send to compressed zipped folder, and make sure it's named properly still. And then this zip file, this is what you're going to turn in. You're going to upload this on Blackboard. If you're on a Mac, it's pretty easy too. You just right click and choose archive, and it's going to zip the thing and give it a name. Make sure you name it appropriately for the assignment. So then I would come here and attach that file and turn it in. That's all. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. This is a long video, but it's kind of a complicated assignment if you've never used InDesign before, or Photoshop or Illustrator. So I hope that helps. Sorry it was so late. I'll probably go and add another day to the due date for this assignment to make up for it, but please let me know if you have any specific questions about it or whatever, and I'll talk to you later.